All right, everybody, welcome back to week 4 of the Master Your Day self-study program. Today, we're going to be going into advanced habit change concepts and the 4 laws of habit change. As a quick review and refresher, remember, we started with identity, values, and why. We went into what are the goals we're going to set based off our identity, our values, and our why. And now we're into the habits that we're going to do daily to work towards those dreams and goals. This all builds on itself, this all expands over time, and it's a logical step-by-step system to create lasting change in your habits. Researchers estimate that 40 to 50% of our actions are habitual. And what do you think are the 2 most common cues for habit change? Take a second, guess. Just think about it. They are time and location. Those are the 2 most common triggers, the 2 most common cues. If you remember our habit loop of cue, routine, reward, the 2 most common cues for a habit are time and location. Now that we understand the 2 most common cues, let's go into the 4 laws of habit change from the book Atomic Habits and how we can use them to massively shift our habits in our lives. The 4 laws of habit change to create a new habit are: make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. To break a bad habit, we just flip those concepts to their inverse. If we want to break a bad habit, we want to make it invisible, make it unattractive, make it difficult, and make it unsatisfying. Let's dive into each one of those and give some examples to give some more context and help solidify the learning. Let's start by talking about creating a good habit, and we'll begin with make it obvious. Before we dive into the examples though, let's talk about a very important concept from the book called friction. What James Clear says is that you want to utilize friction to your advantage, and you want to increase friction between you and the bad habits that you don't want to have, and decrease friction between you and the good habits that you do want to have. When it comes to making it obvious, James Clear talked about wanting to eat healthier. If he puts a bowl of apples out on the counter that are readily visible, when he goes into the kitchen for a snack, he's going to reach for that because it's obvious and it's right there. Next, we want to make our habits attractive. And we can utilize a principle called temptation bundling, where we link an activity we want to do with an activity we don't want to do. The reason for this is we're more likely to find a behavior attractive if we're able to do one of the things we love the most at the same time. Keep in mind the example we used in the past video of Jill on her weight loss journey. The one thing she wasn't willing to give up was watching her 30 minutes of TV. So rather than try to make her give that up, they said, can you march in place while you do it? She was using temptation bundling to her advantage by doing something that she loved and the activity that she had resistance to do. Another great example of this is an engineer who wanted to get in better shape, but he kept finding himself binge watching Netflix. So he rigged up a machine that linked his Netflix account to a stationary bike. And the only way he could continue to watch Netflix was by pedaling the bike to keep the show streaming. If he ever stopped, his show would stop. So now he had bundled together the thing that he didn't want to do with the thing he loved to do. And now he's also increasing his probability of wanting to do this over time because now those 2 behaviors are linked. Now, I don't know how to rig up a machine like that, so let's take it down to some even more simple examples any of us could do. Let's say someone wanted to get a manicure or pedicure, and the thing they really didn't want to do was check their email inbox and go through and sort all that because they felt like it was a waste of time and they weren't getting to do the thing they wanted. Now imagine combining them. While you're getting that manicure or pedicure, you're using your offhand to clear out some emails. That way it's combined value. Let's say you're scrolling on social media too much and you want to get into a better state physically. You bundle these things together and you say, I can check social media whenever I want as long as I do 10 burpees first. Now your goal and the current enjoyable behavior are paired together. Our next law is make it easy. This is where we're really going to utilize friction to our advantage to maximize our results. Additionally, in this, it's important to understand the law of least effort, which says we will default to what is most convenient and easily accessible. In essence, we're minimizing friction between us and the habits that we want to create. We're making it so easy to get to them. Let's say you want to read more and you want to do it right before bed, but by the time you get to bed, you forget about it, you don't know where the book is, you don't know what book you're going to read. The more complexity you put between you and that new habit, the less likely it is to happen. So imagine you pick your book, you set it on your pillow in the morning when you make your bed, so that by the time you're going to bed in the evening, you pick up your book, it's in your hands already, you get right into it. Maybe you're struggling with a morning routine and getting into your workout quickly. Imagine laying out your clothes the night before and putting your shoes right next to your bed, so the moment you step out of bed, you put on your workout clothes, you put on your shoes, and you're ready to go. You're decreasing friction and increasing the probability of you engaging in that habit. Another example could be if you want to eat healthier while you travel, you struggle to eat well while you're on the road. By going out and buying some healthy snacks and having them packed in your bags and in your work bag, the second the hunger arrives, you've already got this pre-prepared and ready to go, so that you're less likely to just go and eat whatever's closest and most convenient, which generally isn't the healthiest stuff when you're able to get it at the snap of your fingers. The 4th law is to make it satisfying. The cardinal rule of behavior change says what is rewarded is repeated and what is punished is avoided. Pleasure teaches your brain that a behavior is worth remembering and repeating. If you want to make sure you're washing your hands, or maybe your family or your children are washing their hands, get a really nice smelling soap, because then when they wash their hands, they go, oh, it smells amazing. I love it. It's satisfying. Creating a tracker for your workout programs that you get to mark off every time you do your workouts creates a small feeling of accomplishment and makes it satisfying. That when you get through your workout, you get to check it off. You share that with your friends and family. You get to inspire yourself and others, and you get to watch your progress over time. That makes it satisfying. When it comes to creating habits, a great rule to start with is called the 2-minute rule. Any new habit that you're working to implement should be able to be done in 2 minutes or less. This again is working with your mind and minimizing the probability that it will trigger an amygdala response. If you want to become a reader, read 1 page every night before bed. If you want to do 30 minutes of yoga every morning, the first few weeks, your 2-minute goal is to go downstairs and lay down your mat. You're not even starting on the yoga yet. You're just building that foundational habit that's taking you one step closer to the real habit that you want. Oftentimes, the hardest part is starting. If you want to run a marathon, start with putting on your running shoes and tying up the laces. I know our minds get frustrated. That seems too small. It's not going to work fast enough. I'm not going to get there quick enough. It's never going to happen. But when we can overcome that default response, recognize that we're playing the long game, and that what we're doing is going to help us make the changes that are actually going to last and stick long term. What most people will do is say, that's not fast enough. I need the results faster. We have this microwave mentality. They'll try and push it. They'll try and willpower it. They won't apply any of the lessons we've talked about. Then within a week or two, they're back to their old behavior. Imagine that person says, it's not fast enough. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to push through. They say, I'm going to work out every day for 30 minutes. But then because they haven't applied the lessons, because they haven't set up their identity, their values, their goal isn't based on those things, and they don't have systems and structures to support them, within a week, they've given up. So sure, they may have gotten 210 minutes of working out done that week, but if that then leads to them taking 6 months off afterwards, then doing the same cycle again, their cumulative workout over time is slim to none. Whereas if you start with 1 minute per day or 2 minutes per day, and you keep that consistently over a couple months, all of a sudden your results will grow exponentially, and you will continue them while the other person is just sitting there feeling defeated. There are some habits that we have such a high level of resistance to, and it could be for a number of reasons, but when you find yourself getting that amygdala response, even when it's just a 2-minute habit, here's what you can do. Go even more Kaizen, go even smaller, chunk down to something that is so small it seems ridiculous. Because the important thing here, guys, is that you're doing the work daily. Many times people are so locked in on the idea of doing 30 minutes a day that when they don't do it, they end up doing nothing. So rather than do nothing every day, I'd much rather, let's say you wanted to write a book, you write 1 line per day. That was how I started my book. So instead of committing to writing 30 minutes a day, you commit to writing 1 line per day. If you want to do 30 minutes of exercise per day, you commit to doing 10 reps, 10 push-ups, 10 sit-ups, 10 squats. That's it for the day. Remember, we're focused long game. We're focused on consistency and momentum, and we're focused on the techniques that will work for the greatest majority of people over time. With these 4 laws of habit change, the first 3 make it obvious, easy, and attractive, increase the probability of the habit occurring the first time. The 4th law, make it satisfying, increases the probability of the habit continuing over the long term or being repeated. So remember, be sure to make these habit changes satisfying and have some kind of reward at the end for you that is in line with your bigger goals, because that's one of the primary things that's going to help it stick. Let's run through some quick examples of how you would break a bad habit by applying the inverse of these principles. First, make it invisible. In his book, James Clear talked about a time where he was drinking too much beer. The problem was the beer was right at the front of the fridge, so as soon as he opened the door and he was a little bit thirsty, that was the first thing he saw. His brain went easy, grab it, go. All he had to do to make this more challenging and make it invisible was put the beer at the back of the fridge. So he'd come in, he was thirsty, he opened the door, he saw the water was there, and his brain went, hey, it's right there, grab it, boom. So now the thing he didn't want was invisible, and he was more likely to take on a different option. Again, applying cue, routine, reward, same cue, same reward of hydration, and we'll say hydration in quotes with the beer. It's like same cue, same reward. He just replaced the routine with something that was better aligned with his goals. Another one that applies to all of us. If you want to be more productive and more focused on your work, take your phone and put it in a drawer, put it across the room, or put it in a totally different room. This might seem so silly, but when I'm at my day job, if my phone is out on my desk, my brain sees it and just wants to pick it up every time it sees it. But if I put it in the drawer, that little bit of resistance, that little bit of friction makes my brain go, oh no, I don't want to spend all the time to get there. So it minimizes my distraction, it minimizes my interruption, it is invisible, I don't actually see it, I'm able to be more focused and present on the work I want to and need to do in my life. To make something unattractive, we want to reframe our mindset and highlight the benefits of avoiding the habit in a positive frame. I'll give you an example of what I mean. If we wanted to make smoking cigarettes unattractive, here's a way to reframe the mindset about the positives of not engaging in the behavior. When the craving comes up to smoke a cigarette, we say, man, isn't it great that I'm increasing my lung capacity, my energy by not smoking the cigarette? Isn't it great that my teeth are going to be whiter and I'm going to have more energy and vitality by not smoking the cigarette? In doing this, we have a positive frame about where we're going, and we're making the undesired behavior unattractive. Our next inverse law is make it difficult. This is one of my favorite examples from the book. He talks about if someone wants to watch less TV, here's a couple ways they can do it. To make it difficult to watch TV, we can remove the batteries from the remote so that every time we want to watch TV, we have to put the batteries back in before we can start it. Another way to increase friction and make it more difficult is that we can take the batteries out, and we can't watch TV unless before we put the batteries back in, we have to stand in front of the TV and say exactly what we're going to watch before we start. Now, you want to go really extreme, unplug the TV entirely, put it in a closet, and the only way you can watch TV is if you take it out of the closet, plug it back in, put the batteries back in the remote, say what you want to watch. Imagine how difficult it would be for you to watch TV at that point. Guys, these small little bits of friction, you would be amazed what a difference it makes, because we are very often just one tiny decision away from a totally different day. It's those decisive moments that make such a huge difference. And the last inverse is make it unsatisfying. We want to make sure that it is unsatisfying to engage in the habit that we're trying to get rid of. Here's a couple of examples of how to do that. One is creating a habit contract. That's where you literally write out what it is you're going to do and what you want to achieve, and then you sign it, and then you have people that are very important to you in your life sign it as well, so that you have made a written signed commitment that you will not do this thing. Another way is to make it public. You put it out on social media or to close friends and family. You tell them, this is what I'm going to do and this is what I'm not going to do. And you create accountability to make sure that you're not engaging in these behaviors. A fun one that comes from Tim Ferriss is he says, you find your most ruthless friend, the person who will not accept your excuses and will not accept anything than what you agreed upon. And then you give that person $100 or whatever number is significant and meaningful to you that it would sting. And you tell them that if I don't hit my goal for the next 30 days, I'm not going to binge eat. For the next 30 days, I'm not going to watch porn. For the next 30 days, I'm not going to drink alcohol. And then they hold you accountable. And the thing is, if you break your commitment, they make a donation to a charity you hate. That's a fun way to increase the consequences. Just think about a charity or cause that you would be like, oh God, I would never want them to have my money. You're increasing the level of dissatisfaction associated with breaking your commitment. Those are some quick examples of how we can use the inverse of the 4 laws of habit change to break a bad habit. Keep in mind, effortless habits are obvious, easy, attractive, and satisfying. Difficult habits are invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying. Now we're going to talk about 2 additional advanced concepts that are going to help you take your habit change to the next level. The first is called an implementation intention. This is a statement that you make, and I recommend you write down and make highly visible for yourself, that helps you clarify when, where, and how you're going to engage in this habit. The way it's structured is, I will behavior at time in location. Remember, time and location are 2 of our most common cues for habits. So we can clearly identify what we're going to do, where and when. It removes barriers and blocks from our brain and helps us to be more easily able to engage in that habit. One example using the concepts that we've talked about so far is I will meditate in the kitchen at 7 a.m. every morning for 1 minute. Another could be I will make my partner a cup of tea first thing in the morning at 8 a.m. in the kitchen. Another could be I will study Spanish for 20 minutes a day in my bedroom starting at 6 p.m. What this does is it gives you clear guidelines of when you're going to engage in activity, what you're going to do, and how long you're going to do it. So it removes the possibility for decision fatigue in your mind, and you know at this time I'm doing this thing for this duration. The more we can plan effectively and remove decisions we need to consciously make in order to get to a result, the more likely it is our amygdala won't get triggered and we'll be able to move more smoothly into that activity. The second concept is called habit stacking. Habit stacking is structured like this. After current habit, I will new habit. Essentially what you're doing is you're pairing this new habit you want to implement with a currently existing well-established one, which increases the likelihood of the second habit or the new habit occurring. Let's say you want to meditate each morning, but you need to pair it up with something because you're having trouble doing it by itself. So a habit stack could be after I pour my morning cup of coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute. To make it an implementation intention, we could say after I pour my morning cup of coffee at 7 a.m., I will meditate for 1 minute in the kitchen. You see how this removes all the decision fatigue and all the variables from your brain. You know exactly what you're going to do and exactly what time. If you wanted to create a habit of love and intimacy with your partner, a great habit stack could be every night when I get into bed, that's your current habit, I will lean over and give my partner a kiss. That's your new habit. This way you're linking these 2 things together, you're creating a new habit, and you're building towards greater intimacy in your love life. One that I really like is something I call the long hallway gratitude walk. And what that is that every time you get in a long empty hallway, what do most of us do? We let our mind wander, we go, this hallway is really long, it's going to take forever. A great habit stack, if you want want to have practice more gratitude in your life is you say, every time I walk down a long hallway, I will think of one thing I'm grateful for. These are fun ways to pair new habits with either existing habits or existing experiences and turn them into something productive, useful, and fun. We can also do something very powerful in habit stacking by creating a sandwich of a new habit. Essentially what that is that we have two existing habits and we put the new habit in the middle because our mind creates an open loop when it starts this pattern. It goes, I start with this and I end with this. So all we need to do is wedge something new in there because our mind, when it gets to this new habit, will go, well, I want to finish here. So it's going to help you to get through this one. For example, if every night before bed you brush your teeth and then wash your face, but you really want to start flossing, instead the stack could be you brush your teeth, floss, and then wash your face. By doing this, your mind is going to want to close this loop, and eventually this middle piece is going to become a part of that overall loop and become a part of that default. So as we talk about implementations and habit stacking, think about some examples of where you could apply these concepts in your life to start getting some wonderful results and changes. Before we wrap up for today, I want to cover off on action and motion. This is one of the most critical concepts in understanding when you're getting the results you want and when you're not and why. Action is anything that delivers the result. Motion is all the things that lead up to taking that action. What happens is a lot of people get so stuck in motion perpetually that they never take any action, so they never get the result. A good example in the fitness realm could be, I want to lose some weight, I want to gain muscle, I want to be healthier, I want to have more energy and vitality. So the person goes into motion, right? They start talking to their trainer about the perfect plan. They hire a dietitian. They've got the perfect plan in place. They're researching about the best weights and exercises. They've got all the details, data, statistics. They know exactly what they need to do, but they've never done one workout. That's motion versus action. Meanwhile, while they were trying to create the perfect plan, they were so caught in motion, their friend just started acting, started learning, made some mistakes, learned from that, continued to enhance, identified their weak spots, built up their knowledge in those places, and by the time this person hasn't even done one set yet, this person has already started to notice results in their life. Action is a requirement in order to get results. Many people will be so stuck in motion and trying to be perfect and trying to get the perfect plan that they will never push out of that comfort zone and take that first step. But if you apply the principles we covered in this video and the previous videos, you'll be amazed how quickly things will start to shift and how such tiny shifts can make such a huge impact on your life. Keep in mind, motion is important. Planning, learning, strategizing, and depending on what it is that you're working on, motion could be critically important. When we look at most of the things we're trying to change in our lives, very few of them have dire, irreversible consequences. In most cases, it's great to move, act, learn, and then adjust as you go. For bigger decisions and more important things, big financial decisions in your life, for example, it's great to take the time to do the motion, maybe hire a professional to help you with that motion, and then identify the appropriate action and move. Because remember, nothing shifts without that action. This week, you're gonna get started creating your Kaizen habits. Now that you've discovered some of these secrets of habit change and some of the primary mindset shifts, we're gonna have you set micro habits in 4 key areas of your life: health, wealth, relationships, and connection and/or spirituality. This is a way for you to start making micro improvements in all different areas of your life to create balance, and then we can start to build on this over time. And in your workbook activity this week, you're gonna get introduced to what I recommend people use for their habit tracking and the type of tracking I use every day in order to track my habits and monitor my results over time. The advanced concepts that we've covered are just a portion. There is too much to cover in just one video, and I don't want to overload you. So next week's video is going to be a continuation of the advanced habit change concepts. Keep in mind, these things all build on each other and they enhance. I've been very deliberate to select and cull the things out, the things that don't work, the things that don't serve. So what you're getting is the most refined and precise information to give you the maximum results. So tune into next week's video as we dive deeper into our advanced habit change concepts that I haven't shared with anyone outside of my private group coaching or my private one-on-one coaching. I will see you in week 5.